Good morning, everyone. I hope this video finds you doing okay. It's morning where I am a bit cold, but hopefully it's a bit warmer wherever you are. But this video is all about one of the most difficult things we experience, and you all know them, anxiety triggers. We get triggered, literally. We get a thought, adrenaline surge, a response, and then we're often running down some sort of worry loop, getting all worked up about this trigger, this thought, something about the future, fear of dying, fear of flying, fear of going outside. It might be a physical symptom that's getting us worked up, palpitations, burning sensations, busyness, whatever it is. So we've all got different triggers. And so this video is all about demystifying it so you can understand exactly where these triggers come from and why they arise in the first place. So why do they happen? And why did they happen the first time as well? Because for many of you, you might have had palpitations in the past. You used to go outside all the time without a second thought. You used to fly without any fear. You never used to worry about the future like you do now. You never used to go over the past like you do now. So why is it that seemingly suddenly, you're reacting to these triggers, these anxiety triggers? So, to really understand it, we need to think about the first time that an anxiety trigger arises. So, I like to think about different examples. One is about obsessive thinking. So, I might be, for the first time, maybe I'm sitting at the couch at home. Suddenly, a thought comes into my mind about what if something bad happens to me? Something very general like that. You're sitting on the couch. What if something bad happens to me? So there's nothing going on in your world that says something bad's going to happen to you, but you've just got this thought. And then instantly out of the blue, your system responds. So it reacts straight away. So the flight or fight, the stress response kicks in. It sends the surge of adrenaline up. And then you start to go, well, yeah, what if something happens? What if something bad happens to me? What if I die? What if I get hurt tomorrow? What if I get hurt when I go outside? And there can be a million different thoughts that it starts to trigger. Now, the reason why you've got involved in that thought and it's starting to become a trigger is because you've reacted to these words as though there is some sort of real physical threat that you've got to urgently solve or else. So that's what happens. Now, the thing with anxiety and anxiety triggers, we know on one level there's no danger, right? You know that, well, I'm just sitting here at home, but at the same time, you can't reconcile the fact that your body is almost screaming at you to take this thought and this danger seriously. So that's how an anxiety trigger starts. Now, the missing information that you really need to know is it's not just random and out of the blue. It's not because your brain's suddenly misfiring, your brain's not working properly, suddenly you've got anxiety out of the blue. It's because your nervous system over time, I talk about this all the time in the videos, for days, weeks, months, years, stress has been building. So let me take a more extreme example. Just say you've been working 14-hour days, 16-hour days for the last month. You're tired, you're fatigued, you're pushing through, you're getting up, you're pulling yourself out of bed, going to work, you're not taking breaks, you're tired, but you're pushing through, you're chugging down the caffeine to get through the day. Maybe you're having too much sugar, you've stopped the exercise, so you've stopped the outlets for stress. So the nervous system is slowly building up all this stress, and it's switching the nervous system from a normal state of regulation into high alert mode. It's like, well, gee, I've got to keep going like this. So I've got to stay alert. I've got to look out. I'm tired, but I'm going to stay alert, and I've got to start living in survival mode. So in order to get through, the body has to start producing adrenaline. And because it's not healthy for the body is like, well, this must be a threat situation. It's not healthy for me to be working, 14-hour days, no breaks, no exercise. But if that's what you want to do, I'll help you survive. But it must be urgent. There must be like a physical threat happening for you to be wanting to do this to me. So I'll help you I'll go into high alert status and I'll give you the energy you need, but it will be adrenaline and stress hormone because that's the only way I can override the body's natural safety mechanisms to get you go back into rest and digest mode. The only way I can stop you going to sleep is with adrenaline or stress hormone because I need you to calm down, but you're not. You keep overriding me, so I'm gonna start to live on adrenaline. So if you know that that's the context, suddenly you're at home, maybe you've got a night off, you've left work early for a change, you're sitting on the couch, you finally get a chance to breathe. And suddenly you see something on TV, a thought comes into the mind around something, someone dying on TV, and you suddenly go, well, what if something happens to me? What if there's something wrong with me? And because your system is primed, it's on high alert because of the way you've been living, starts to get involved in the thought. It triggers an instant response before you get a chance to reconcile it and go, actually, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And because you're tired anyway, the adrenaline keeps coming because you've trained it effectively, not deliberately, of course. No one does this deliberately to themselves. We just don't know. The body's like, well, I'm just going to go back into high alert mode, like you've taught me. And so I'm going to, make sure I'm going to sort this physical threat out, this thought. What if something bad happens to me? And then, of course, the adrenaline surges. Then, as I said at the start of the video, you kind of know there's no physical threat, but why is my body screaming at me? And then you think you're going crazy. There must be something wrong. And then we're off and running. And that is exactly how an anxiety trigger starts. So there's nothing wrong with, there's no truth to any of the thoughts. Doesn't matter if it's a physical symptom, that's a trigger. It's an obsession, that's a trigger. It's an intrusive thought. It just happens to be circumstantial. Maybe it was something you watched on TV that put a thought in your mind that you've reacted to. Maybe it was when you were washing your hands. You're like, oh, are these clean enough? Bang, you get a response. No, they're not clean enough. And then you start washing your hands more than you normally would. So you can see how this manifests. So, but the mechanism, regardless of what your trigger is exactly the same. So if we understand this, we can start to realize, oh, well, there's nothing I need to be worried about. I've just got to cope with feeling like there's something to worry about. It's just the adrenaline, stress hormones, and this overactive flight or fight response that's tricking me into engaging in this anxiety trigger. And of course, if we don't know that up front, then we spend a lot of time getting activated by this trigger, worrying about it, and we start to reinforce those neural pathways to train ourselves to react to it until we hopefully come across something like I talk about in my videos, that you can start to rewire the brain through practices and methods I talk about in other videos to help start to get you to slow down, to allow the adrenaline to surge, and then to allow the nervous system to calm down over time back to a healthier baseline level. So I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, as always, please let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you again very soon. Take care.